It's time again for the Tech Informist. Let's begin. Welcome back to Tech Informist. This is Kevin.
This is Brad.
And on this episode, our main discussion topic is going to be Kevin discusses his first 2 weeks with the Apple Watch.
2 of the Project Valerie laptops that we mentioned last week at CES were reported stolen.
Apple's augmented reality headset is rumored to hit the market later this year.
The LG G6 to have an extra tall display.
And Steve Jobs announced the iPhone 10 years ago this week.
Slack brings its desktop app to the Windows Store.
And the Nintendo Switch announcement later this evening. All this and more on Tech Informist. All right, so I am now 2 weeks into being an Apple Watch owner. And again, I posted this out on Twitter after I got it all set up and everything, that if you would have told me, we'll just say a year or two ago, that I would be using an iPhone, a Mac, and an Apple Watch, I would have personally driven you to the psychiatrist because I would have called you a nutcase.
And I would have been laughing all the way there.
This is not something that I really ever expected to do. It's not that I was dead fast against Apple or, again, like Google. I mean, I know there's people that, there's no way in the world that I would use that company's products. I was never that way. I've never been that 100% hardcore fanboy.
I definitely have been, but when you're covering tech, you can't be.
No, that's kind of one of the reasons I've still got my Nexus 6P is because, if there's something that comes out on Android, I kind of need to be able to try the application out.
Yep.
And I don't want to mess with like BlueStacks or the Android emulation or go get a Chromebook or Pixel or something like that.
Right. And I mean, I want to say that I can do the same thing with Windows Phone still, but I can't. My last Windows 10 device, the mobile device, is just, I had to sell it.
And it is really weird to not have a Windows Phone. I sometimes just feel strange that I don't have that third mobile OS sitting in my drawer or on my nightstand, just where I can just pick it up and try out an app that may come out, and I don't know, it's just different.
I still have my regular 640 on the nightstand as my alarm.
Okay. Nice dedicated alarm clock, I guess, for you.
Yep. It's the tone that it uses compared to most apps, I guess, or just built-in alarms in other places. I'm so used to it. Because I had, Windows 8 mobile operating system for a little while. Yeah, 8.1, 8, and it used the same tone. And I got so used to it that I just felt I couldn't really move on from it.
So yeah, with the whole Band 2 for Microsoft being discontinued, essentially, and end of life, Microsoft stores have been issuing refunds if your Band 2 has been having some defective issues, which the problems that I had most were the battery. The battery seemed to always want to die. I know a lot of people were going through numerous because the strap was tearing or whatever. And I know this is probably going to rub some people the wrong way, but I think a lot of the reason why they were tearing was because people were wearing a display on the inside of the wrist.
Interesting.
Because it's putting different wear and tear on it that would not be normally be getting placed there. In the other design, I'm not an engineer, so I don't know that for sure if that's why it was
just a thought.
It's just a thought. So let's go with that. So yeah, so I took it back to the Microsoft store, the local one. And at that time, they have Fitbit charges and blazes and all these different little Fitbits there in the store. I thought, I'll try out the Fitbit Blaze. So I got it all set up, synced and everything, and I tried it for a day. I'm like, I'm just not feeling it. So I took it back, and you went with me. We went to the Microsoft store first, returned it, got the money back, and then walked right next door and picked up the Apple Watch that I had ordered before we even left the studio. And it's just the Series 1 black sports version. Nothing fancy.
Well, you gotta understand whether or not you're going to like this or not, because you went through the charge pretty quickly.
Yeah, I didn't stay with I think it was the Blaze. I don't even know anymore. Well, it was the one that was $200. I didn't like it.
Regardless, you didn't have it for long.
Yeah, to me, it's just like Fitbit software just doesn't cut it for me.
It's kind of how I felt. I'm very fond of the idea of an Apple Watch. I think I would also really just like to have a Microsoft Band back. But the problem is, I just felt myself not wanting to wear something on my wrist.
Mm-hmm. I mean, one of the main reasons why I decided to go with one of the Fitbits was because I'm still a dual platform user. I still carry Nexus 6P around with me, even though it's primarily just a gaming device. But if for some reason I wanted to put my SIM card out of my iPhone and put it in the Android device, I could, and I would still have a wearable to wear that would sync up with it.
And now you're stuck.
And now I really don't have much of a choice to, want to fire up the Android device as my primary daily smartphone. Because now I feel I'm quote-unquote all in. And so for the things that really impressed me, the display is nice. Battery life on it is fantastic. I can usually get through 2 full days. Again, This does not have GPS. I don't have always on. I'm not constantly checking it. I don't have email notifications. I don't have those active because I get too many emails.
Same.
There's no way. I'm not dealing with that. Social media, I mean, you can kind of like scribble a text reply or something like that, or you can do a little voice recognition. Some of the things that kind of do bother me a little bit is, for example, if I'm listening to Pocket Casts and I'm driving in the car, it's just so much easier to just rotate the wrist and do the volume control. On here, it's in, quote unquote, in the dock. So you've got to press what is essentially the power button, not the little crown. And then you select that, and then you can fast forward 45 seconds, rewind, 10 seconds, pause, play, whatever. And that's kind of nice. Getting a chance to just see Facebook Messenger messages, text messages, being able to answer a phone call from there and actually use it as kind of the go-between for, it's like a little speakerphone kind of thing.
Go gadget phone.
Go gadget phone. Yeah, only it's not going to like save me with a helicopter popping out of my head or nothing. Spectre Gadget cartoon was really good. I used to like that as a kid.
Definitely.
The new version's not as good.
No, don't mess with that.
No. But so far, I'm liking it. Do I wish it was waterproof? Yeah, because if I'm doing dishes or anything like that, there's a little bit too much water. I'm going to take this off and go set it on the counter over there because I don't want to.
That'd make me a little nervous for the price that it's sitting. It's just, I don't know. I'm not feeling it.
Yeah, it's just.
So what about the comfort?
Comfort
that would be like maybe number one for me.
One of the biggest issues that I had with the Band 2 and even with the Band 1 was the clasp is so thick.
Yeah.
So if I'm typing on my computer, which again it's that Mac and stuff, so it's got that big palm rest. The clasp on the Band 2 was so thick it felt like my left shoulder was sticking up because I felt like I was typing weird. I'm actually back to being able to type somewhat normal. Because there's really nothing on here that would scratch the computer or scratch anything because it's just all a nice silicone rubber and all that. It's comfortable. Obviously, I can tell I wear it on the 4th dot with just the regular watch band that was already attached.
And what I find interesting about that band, so I used to wear watches as a kid, and when you pull it around and put it through the buckle, that you have that extra bit sticking out. With this one, it kind of tucks into itself from what I saw.
Yeah, and that was one of the things. It took me a few minutes to figure out how to really get this thing to clasp and stay on. So you put the little peg in the hole, and then you tuck the rest of it in. I guess it's a testosterone thing. I got a little bit hair on my arm, so it gets in there and it pulls some of the hair sometimes. Whenever you're like sliding the rest of the strap into the band opening. So that takes a little bit getting used to. But other than that, it's very comfortable. I don't feel like an issue with it sweating or I feel like I'm constantly having to shake my hand to get it to come loose or something like that.
Yeah, I have that a lot with the band. Again, I did like the product. I just don't know if I can put something back on my wrist after not having it for all these years. I just prefer pulling my phone out and maybe checking every notification there and, typing there and beyond. So
one of the biggest things that I missed, though, is sleep tracking. It was one of the great things that the Band and the Band 2 did was able to keep up with their sleep tracking. And, I don't really mess too much with the heart rate. I mean, like right now, I'm using one of the faces that has the clock, my calendar, temperature, timer, and the date. And that's another thing, too. I'd really like to be able to find more watch faces. By default, you've got Mickey, Minnie, black and white color versions. You got a whole bunch of different little colorized faces, but I don't know.
Is that something you would have to buy extra from different people?
Well,
Is
those
that
are
something you can get free?
Those are all free, and those are in the Apple Watch app. You just kind of go to the watch face section, and it takes you into the little App Store watch face section. And then you can kind of just quickly install it. And one nice thing is you can customize it. You can change some of the colors and what shows on the top right, what shows in the middle, what shows on the bottom, and stuff
That's
like
cool.
that. I just wish there was more applications that it integrated in with. I really wish I could set like the bottom for Pocket Casts, not Apple Music, because I don't really use Apple Music. So I'm not 100% bought in. I'm not all... No, don't even go yet. I'm not going to do the Apple one.
What'd you say 2 years ago?
Yeah, I guess don't never say never.
Exactly.
I just have a little bit more control and integration into that. So I don't know if that's just something that'll come with more future watchOS updates. I think we're on 3.1 or 3.01, whatever it is, the latest version. I already installed that. I can see why there's been so many accessories for a charging stand.
Those are cool.
That would be nice. So
those are cool.
Put that on there, and then it just the screen flips and kind of goes into like a night clock mode. Mm-hmm. That's kind of nice. I didn't put a screen protector or nothing on here. I got just a couple minor little scuffs in the top corner, and I felt it right when it happened. I'm like, bah, it's going to happen. I'm not that worried about it. I'm not going to be overly OCD paranoid about it.
Right. People get it in their head, man, I really don't want to mess this thing up, so I'm just going to leave it here, and I'll never touch it. And you can't...
Yeah, so it stays pristine.
You can't experience it. Like, if it was my choice, I would never put a case on any phone ever unless the phone was ugly. Mm-hmm. But I feel so compelled to because they're all made out of glass. The whole front half of the frickin' thing is glass.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm not a big fitness freak, so I have not done any workouts or runs or anything like that because, well, we live in St. Louis, so it's usually pretty cold.
Especially right about now.
Yeah, so I haven't got to that point yet. So I will try that. I'll try out the little activity tracker, and I made sure to turn that little setting off where it yells at you almost every hour to get up and stand up and do stuff like that. I didn't want to be bothered with that.
Yeah.
Siri recognition's been very hit and miss, as expected, because me and Siri just don't get along. Not a big Siri fan.
Yeah, I'm not either. I kind of wish, I mean, this won't happen, but I kind of wish other voice assistants could be implemented.
Yeah, I wish I could change the map app that I could, because I use Google Maps and I use Waze, but it wants me to, you need to reactivate or reinstall Apple Map. I'm like, nope. No, I'm not. Not happening. So, again, not fully bought in. Will I keep it or will I?
How long do you have to return it?
I don't know. If anything, I'll just resell it on Swappa or something like that.
I see.
I wouldn't take it back to the store.
Okay. I'm just curious. I didn't know if you were, I've got this window. I'll try it, see how I like it. And if I'm not feeling it in like a week or two, maybe bring it back. And
I guess I could, but I don't know. Right now, I would say I'm going to plan on keeping it.
Okay.
I think I like it that much. I like being able to look down and, that's what time it is.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Simply tap the screen and palm cover to turn the screen back off.
Oh, I like that.
I do like the fact, and I discovered this by accident, that if you've got the Mickey Mouse face on your watch, that when you tap on him, he tells you what time it is and then kind of giggles. Like, oh, look at that.
My wife would love that.
Yeah. Like, that's so sweet.
I would have to say I might like that too, because I'm a big Disney nerd.
So I would really love it if anybody out there with Apple Watch is a little bit more experienced with this than I am, and Apple Watch faces. If you know of a good place to grab some more other than what is typically out there, let me know. I'd really love to know about that. Next up, two of the Project Valerie laptops that we mentioned last week from Razer. It's from CES. Has reportedly been stolen.
Apparently somebody could not wait to get their hands on it.
Yes, so I believe it. Yeah, he's the founder and CEO and creative director of Razer. Min Liang Tan put out a post on Facebook on January the 9th that states that he had just been informed that two of the prototypes were stolen from the booth at CES today. And then kind of goes on to say that if you were at the show and or if you can provide any information, please reach out to them at legal@razorzone.com, and all information provided will be kept in the strictest of confidence. And then he updated it to confirm that 2 Razer Project Valerie laptop prototypes were stolen from the Razer booth at CES. Product was taken from the Razer press room at approximately 4 p.m. on Sunday, January the 8th. So this is like as this CES was winding down.
Right.
$25,000 reward is being offered for original information leading to the identification, arrest, and conviction of a criminal suspect. They're kind of thinking that possibly this is some like corporate
espionage?
Yeah.
Really?
I can't remember the specific that they mentioned, but man, people are going to these devices are just going to stand out. You would think if they try to connect them to any kind of network.
There is no way.
MAC address will ping or something.
There is no way that you can turn this on in a place that it could potentially connect to Wi-Fi. Yeah. You're screwed. You're done. You're found.
And, other people were talking about, well, how are they going to get it on the plane? I'm like, well, not everybody took a plane to get to CES.
Right.
I mean, there's people that drive from all over the place to Vegas.
And I'm going to tell you how they're going to get on a plane, even if they got it on a plane.
Check in. They're going to check in the bag.
Not only that, but even if they're looking at this thing, people don't know half of what devices are. They're like, oh, it's just this big honking laptop. Woo. They don't know it's reported stolen, and by the time they know, that guy's already way gone, or girl, or
it could have been somebody that got on a plane at McCarran Airport at that same day. Mm-hmm. He could have got on the plane at 6 o'clock. It was just 2 hours after they noticed it was missing. I don't know. I hope that they are returned. I really would like to see what ends up happening to this.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested. I can't imagine that the person who stole them will use them on any kind of network ever. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking they're going to – well, there's one of two things. Either they stole it, like you said, for espionage reasons. That kind of makes sense. Which, even if they did, you can't use some of the stuff that they've already made.
Yeah. So for people that don't remember and didn't listen to last week's episode, the Project Valerie laptop is the one that has the tri-screen. So it has the one main screen and then 2 more fold out, and then you got 3 displays.
Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff, and I could imagine why somebody would just really want to get their hands on it.
Yeah, just so they could kind of like, so how did Razer do this? Let's tear it apart and figure it out and make our own. But then again, I mean, you get something like that, the next company that comes out with something real similar, hey, where'd you get that idea from?
Uh-huh.
Hey, it looks like a very similar hinge or something. It just reeks of stupidity
weird.
And ignorance. So hopefully, whoever did take it gets caught.
Apple's augmented reality headset rumored to hit the market later this year. A post, very weirdly, on MS Power User caught my attention. The patent picture is what really caught my attention here. And it kind of looks like a slim pair of goggles that you would slide an iPhone in with a remote, if you will, to control maybe what you're seeing.
Kind of like the Daydream headset from Google has the little remote controller now.
Yeah, the remote. I would say very similar to that, except that you're only dealing with kind of one form factor here. It's the iPhone. It's going to be one of 2 sizes, and from rumors, one of 3 sizes. Regardless, it's going to be an iPhone product. It's going to have that connection in there. They look very light and very not so heavy duty compared to most of the VR headsets we've seen.
Yeah, it looks very thin, very slim. And of course, if Apple is coming up with this, Johnny Ive's got his hands all up in this thing, and it's going to be very sleek and sexy. And
the problem I worry about, and I mean, none of these drawings are anything to really go by. I wonder about light bleeding into your peripherals, because that is one thing when I'm
coming over the top, bottom, sides,
exactly. It's one thing that I worry about the most when it's these small little form factor devices. I find it interesting that this is going to happen this year. And if it does, you can bet money this is going to be at WWDC.
It won't be a WWDC.
You don't think so?
It's too early. It won't come out. They won't do this until September.
So
this will be a September.
Okay,
announcement.
so it's like, hey, 10 years ago, which actually was just this week, 10 years ago, we released the iPhone, the original, and here's the iPhone whatever, and this is 10 years in the making, and here's this thing to go with it. Yeah, I guess that makes more sense.
Because obviously, people that listen to the show, you kind of follow the tech scene, like we do, and you know that, well, the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus was kind of just another 6S square. It's just kind of like another iteration. The biggest difference, obviously, being the new processor and also the camera choices that they went with the 7 Plus. And that was just kind of like scratching the surface of what the iPhone, we'll just say it's going to be called the iPhone 8. Because
just for
keeping numbers going. I mean, you wouldn't want to call the 10th anniversary iPhone the iPhone 7S Plus. I just don't see that happening.
I kind of don't either. I mean, maybe they skip a number just for this reason of being an anniversary of the 10th device or whatever that they do. Maybe it's just iPhone anniversary. I don't know. It's Apple. We thought that your Apple Watch was going to be the iWatch. Everyone thought it was going to be the iWatch, and it turned out to be the Apple Watch. Maybe they changed the...
Yeah, they just changed the name. And I mean, I don't think the Apple Watch has been such a big hit as they kind of hoped it was going to be. But then again, typical wearables, other than like Fitbits, Android Wear,
they're not as big of a hit as people were kind of anticipating, which makes complete sense why Microsoft got out of it. Yeah. I really do look forward to seeing what Apple has up their sleeves, because usually when Apple does something, it becomes mainstream. Yeah. And that's kind of what we're shooting for here.
And that's what Robert Scoble, who I've interviewed Robert Scoble on the Everything VR and AR podcast. He was our second guest on that show. And so he works for Upload VR. He's a futurist. He covers all this stuff. And what I like most about Robert is the fact that he might have some NDAs that he can't go into full detail, but he sure does love to hint around and get people teased and worked up. I feel he's pretty darn blunt. I mean, he's not your normal professional journalist or whatever. I mean, he's great at what he does. I mean, him and Shel Israel have written a number of books. And again, both Robert and Shel are great guys from the time that I've been able to talk with them. I have a lot of faith, and I believe a lot of what Robert is saying. And I need to kind of have Robert back on a follow-up to kind of talk about some of this because, he was talking with some people at CES, a Carl Zeiss employee, which Carl Zeiss, the company is well known for camera lenses.
Lumia.
Yeah, geez. I guess we kind of have to have lenses in these cameras and lenses in these phones and lenses in glassware to be made for these headsets. But they had a very small kind of closed booth in the middle of the VR and AR stuff. They weren't demoing anything. They weren't showing anything off. So why else would they have really been there? And that's kind of where he was hinting. And so a Zeiss employee supposedly confirmed the rumors that Apple and Carl Zeiss AG are working on a light pair of augmented reality, mixed reality glasses that may be announced this year.
Keyword May.
But he's been saying this since last year. I don't even know how late or early. He's been kind of on this for at least the last quarter of 2016.
It just falls perfectly in line with their 10th anniversary. It all kind of makes sense. Why wouldn't you release this with what is to be, again, the best iPhone ever made?
Yeah, I mean, it could be the biggest Apple event ever. Because, one, 10th anniversary of iPhone, possibility of this releasing their augmented reality device, and this is probably going to be the first major press event that's going to be held at their new center, their new facility.
Which he even said that last year during their press event releasing new hardware. Like, this is the last one. This is the last time we're releasing here. The new facility is where it's going to happen.
Yes, Apple wants to get everybody pumped up, psyched up. Investors all excited to be pouring more money into the company because they've kind of taken a little bit of a hit with their pricing. I mean, obviously they're still worth plenty of money. They're not hurting for cash. They're not going to need to take out loans.
And I'm just throwing out a guess here, and I do this occasionally. It amounts to nothing, but I'm just saying.
Get out the virtual dartboard.
Yeah, here we go. I really do feel if Apple's iPhones continue the way they're going and they can't get anybody to buy their new Macs because they're unreliable for the first time in who knows how long, they might be overtaken soon by, I don't know, Amazon, possibly Microsoft at some point, maybe Google.
You never know. I mean, obviously, BlackBerry never expected to be the company that was on the outside looking in and
exactly
releasing BlackBerry smartphones with Android on them. Can you imagine an
iPhone with an Android operating? Yeah. I never think that will happen, but could you imagine?
Nokia and Android now. Now they're a couple.
Right.
Who would have thought that?
And Nokia doesn't even make them anymore. TCL is the one making the phones, which is
still stamped Nokia, though, I think.
Yeah.
It looks kind of still the same, just not those funky little colors. So anyway, I'm definitely going to be staying tuned for this because obviously, I do an Everything VR and AR podcast, so I kind of need to keep up with this, but also for this show as well. And I just love tech in general. Speaking of Apple, we'll just go ahead and kind of get into this real quick and get this short little story out of the way. Like we mentioned, the iPhone was first shown off by Steve Jobs 10 years ago. And if you have never watched that presentation from 2007, I highly recommend it. It was one of those that has such a great kind of behind-the-scenes story to it, and the fact that it would not have taken much for this presentation to have been a complete disaster.
And should I mention real quick, we will have that video linked in the show notes if for some reason you don't feel like looking it up.
It's like an hour and something long. It's well worth the watch, in my opinion. I mean, you're seeing probably one of the best presentations that Steve Jobs ever gave. And again,
it's a proud thing to be proud of, for lack of better words right now.
Yeah, and again, I mean, it was something that I was kind of in awe of even just before I got an iPhone, before I did the Mac, before I did the Apple. Again, I mean, I appreciate everything that they did to bring mobile computing into what it is today. I mean, they really did truly reinvent the smartphone.
No one could have saw this coming.
No, not to that extent.
And it was very clear after it was announced, no one understood it and could see its potential. I mean, no, let me rephrase that. They could see the potential, but they didn't want to.
Yeah. It was one of those, Apple phone. They're big on iPods and Macs. What are they going to do with a phone? Well, they kind of made it one of the best selling and one of the best phones out there.
Regardless if you like them or not, I think you just got to give them a little props.
Yeah.
I really am excited for their 10th anniversary. Come on, black and gold iPhone.
What about like black and copper, like that one laptop?
That's even better.
Just like
either
that.
Way, come on.
Either way, signed right up. He might have to buy one on his own.
Between that and their partnerships with Nintendo, I might be jumping in with both feet.
Yep, completely.
Never say never, kids.
I completely agree. So again, the video will be linked in the show notes for like the full video for YouTube. It's awesome.
And there's also a nice write-up from Engadget that will be linked in the show notes as well. So since I'm an LG guy, LG's new flagship will reportedly focus on screen-to-body ratio. What that tells me is they are going to be going for kind of how Dell XPS 13 is like screen almost all the way to the edge. Almost like a pizza. Toppings to the edge.
There you go. Actually, I'm hungry, so that fits in good.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking here, Kevin, is they're going to put as much screen into that phone that they can allow but still be functional, which would make sense why the fingerprint reader will be on the back still. And I believe it'll be about the same size as my phone, possibly a little bit wider, a little bit taller, whatever, because supposedly it's supposed to be getting a QHD Plus LCD display 1440 by 2880, which that's a real goofy number. The LG display calls it an 18 by 9 aspect ratio. What the heck?
Yeah, so it's going to be twice as tall as it is wide.
That is just weird. But hey, if they can fit it in that form factor, or relatively speaking, not make it too much bigger in my pocket, I'm really excited about this phone. You know me, I constantly just have good things to say about LG. I don't know, I'm just kind of a fan.
Right, so reports, rumors are that LG's kind of stepping away from the whole modular design.
And it makes sense because it didn't catch. There are multiple reasons. We won't get into that. That's in earlier show.
Mm-hmm. They're supposed to unveil it sometime in February, probably at Mobile World Congress.
Definitely.
I'm curious to see it. I kind of wouldn't mind having something different than my Nexus 6P because that might make me want to actually use it again. I mean, I like
Can't
the Nexus.
come fast enough. I'm on the edge of my seat right now.
All in on LG, baby.
Yep, bring it on. But I really am curious, especially after the TV they showed off this year. Like, their quality is just right there when it comes to screens. Mm-hmm. I'll argue with you till the cows come home against Samsung having a better screen. Moo. But I personally really do like their screens.
Yeah. I'm actually looking forward to kind of getting hands-on and getting to try this thing out. And really
I did let our Verizon rep know that we're interested, and if she happened to get one a little early, maybe I could try it out before I buy it.
Yeah, there you go. That's one of the nice little perks of getting to do what it is that we do. Friends in all sorts of different places.
Yep.
One of the nice things. So, looking forward to this LG G6, and hopefully, again, it's going to have that Snapdragon 835 that we mentioned on last week's episode. Hopefully it has a minimum of like 4 gig RAM, and give me something in that 3,500 milliamp hour battery range.
Yes, or very close.
Give me something nice in there.
Yes.
Because you got that big old fancy screen.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, no matter how much of the 835 is a little battery sipper, I want some battery to it. Gimme.
So this is a shorter kind of segment, but I did want to mention, since so many of us use Slack, including us here at Tech Artista, that they have brought their desktop app, the one we all know and love, to the Windows Store in Windows 10. So instead of hunting around on the internet for maybe a bad version of it, or not even a real version of it, and potentially harming your computer, you can just hop into the store, type in Slack, and it pops up immediately.
So you mean people actually would install software for like Slack, for example, from somewhere other than Slack.com?
Apparently, yes.
What? What is this sorcery?
You know, when you're dealing with people who don't know enough about technology, you could imagine that they type something in, click on a different link maybe, from what would appear to be a familiar site, and it's definitely not.
Yeah,
but I do like seeing desktop apps, even if it's just a desktop app. It's not a modern, it's fine. I like seeing that they're adding it to the store. It makes it easier for the consumer, in my opinion, especially if you're booting up a brand new computer.
True. The Slack app is on the Apple's Mac App Store, so that makes sense that they would do that for the Windows platform.
Exactly. As I like to say, if you're wanting to get work done, you bring a Windows device.
Really? Is that true? Okay.
Just kidding, though.
I'll take your word for it, partner.
I couldn't help it.
I know you couldn't. That's okay. Last but not least, this is a story that is very near and dear to both myself and Brad's hearts. Nintendo. We love Nintendo. We
do.
The great majority of you out there love Nintendo. If not, we'd really like to know why. But the night that we record this, which is January the 12th of 2017, that is also the same night that Nintendo is going to be having their Live from Tokyo presentation about the Nintendo Switch, where they're going to give out a bunch of information about the upcoming console, including probably the launch date. Hopefully we get some pricing, and maybe they'll even let us know if we can pre-order the dang thing or not.
And games.
Certain games, because that's actually going to be coming out on, I believe, the 13th is when they're going to have another event that they're calling like the Nintendo Treehouse or something like that.
Right, so they did this for, I believe, the 20th anniversary of Pokemon. And essentially they stream all day, and it actually kind of fun. I watched it for a couple hours, and then I was kind of compelled to go out and buy a Pokemon Blu-ray.
Look at you, man. Were they playing the Pokemon tune, like Pokemon got it?
Oh, absolutely. They cashed in on that.
Over and over.
Well, not over and over, but I feel like about every break or so. It was some kind of Pokemon theme of some kind.
Yeah.
But those Treehouse events are actually done really well. But I mean, Nintendo, we grew up with Nintendo. Literally grew up with Nintendo. And I want the company to do good. I want the company to keep going and survive.
I mean, they've only been around since the 1890s, so geez.
Technically speaking, yes. Since
it's a card game.
Right. Since they've made an actual
electronic device.
Yeah. 80s. And
probably 70s, actually, if you really go back that far.
It's true. Again, I still have to listen to that book, which I'll get around to eventually.
Young man.
But this was my first console. It was a Nintendo Entertainment System. I absolutely loved it, and I was a strong, fan till now and beyond. So, I don't know. I don't know what to expect. I'm kind of hoping it's around that $299 price tag, at least for
they're talking about
base price.
Well, they're talking about that kind of price for the quote-unquote deluxe version, which would be coming with a game.
If that happens and
you
want one, you got to pre-order as soon as possible. I am telling you, there's approximately going to be 2 million this year for the whole world.
That would be ignorant of them to only do 2 million.
I'm not surprised. Look at the NES Classic edition.
It's March when that thing will release. I can understand it be somewhat limited at the time that they launch, but they've been making these things for at least a few weeks.
Well, they don't want another Wii U situation where they make too many and then they sit.
That's why you do a pre-order system and gauge the interest.
If only.
Keeping it clean, folks, and keeping it clean.
If only.
If only. It's 2017. You've got to do a pre-order system. Mm-hmm. They just got a bunch of negative PR, I would say, from people about the NES Classic Mini by not having a pre-order system for that. People all upset because scalpers are buying them and selling them on eBay for multiple times over the retail cost.
I have mixed feelings about that. There's part of me that absolutely hates it, and there's part of me that just I understand it, and I don't know, something that brings so much joy to so many people. I don't like to see that toxic, just brought in. Yeah. I just don't.
I understand.
But when roughly like an hour and 15 minutes, we'll be sitting and watching. At least I'll be sitting at a buddy's house and watching.
Yeah, you'll be watching that, and I'll probably be trying to keep up with it because hey, it's supposed to be having upwards of an inch of ice here in the St. Louis area within the next 48 to 72 hours. So
yeah, that's going to be bad.
I'll be staying home and watching a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, we'll be
playing some games as long as the power don't go out.
Oh man, that could be really bad for me.
That would be because your wife's in California and you're just
I'm at home
just
alone.
You and Nimbus,
me and Nimbus and the snake and my computer that is liquid cooled. And don't need anything below freezing. Just saying.
Yeah, imagine that getting some ice in there.
Well, I'm getting a new liquid coolers with that. So that's what's going to happen.
So anyway, back to the Nintendo Switch. They're saying the base might be around $249.99 in the United States, so a $300 deluxe version, which would come with probably a game, and you kind of have to assume, since they keep showing off the new Zelda game, that would probably be the game that's going to be bundled with it.
That
you would imagine.
Or a new 3D Super Mario game.
I would have to say that Zelda game is probably more further along.
Maybe.
What if they do a new Metroid game, Brad? Would you be happy about that?
I'll freaking lose it tonight. I will just... I can't even imagine, actually. Mainly because there hasn't been a good Metroid game for... I would say since they redid the first Metroid game as Zero Mission. So, it's been a while.
I would imagine Nintendo's going to release this for around the same price as what you can get a PS4 or an Xbox One.
They have to. They absolutely have to. Even though it's a brand new console, they have to right now. As much as they are so much different than the competition, you still have to factor in, at the end of the day, it is still a price tag on basically what is an electronic luxury toy. Mm-hmm. And in order to afford that, it has to be in a nice kind of spur-of-the-moment price tag. Kind of like the NES Classic was a spur-of-the-moment price tag. But guess what? If you wanted one, a lot of us, you had to camp. You had to wait.
Again,
I don't know.
I'm Still feeling so blessed I was able to get one on that first opening day.
So here's my thinking as to why Mario would be packed in other than Zelda. Because they know you're already going to buy Zelda. Mario kind of teaches you, hey, this is what this system can do. This is how this system can run and work. And
Didn't we learn that when Jimmy Fallon was playing Zelda with Reggie?
Yeah, true. But I'm sure a lot of people who are going to buy this didn't watch that.
That's true, yeah. Well, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
I just want information, and the information is less than
I can't wait.
hours away.
I can't wait.
From the time that we record this, obviously by the time that you listen to it, you'll probably already know if you're into this stuff. So
maybe tweet at us as to how crazy our thoughts were, why we were wrong, and here's the actual stuff. Because, podcasting is a time machine, too.
Yeah, we do love listening to what you have to say, believe it or not. We do. And real quick on the NES Classic, there has been some stuff that came out this prior weekend about, and again, this kind of goes back to, this is kind of a touchy subject here in the United States, Russia hackers being able to get in and play around with the code so they could install more NES ROMs onto the NES Classic. Some people are reporting getting up to, counting the 30 that's already included into there, putting on like an additional 60 to 70 games, taking it to like 100, right around 100 games, because there is only a limited amount of internal storage on this thing. I don't know what the number is off the top of my head, so
I'm not 100% for sure, but I am slightly surprised that they may have left extra storage on there for that reason.
Yeah, I mean, kind of in a way it doesn't surprise me, because it would be kind of silly for them to just put like a 64 meg chip or 128 meg chip on there.
That's true.
Obviously cost, but
that's true.
In this day and age, why are you even bothering dealing with megabyte chips? You at least put the minimum you're going to want to put on there is probably a gig.
Yeah, they could probably get away with that, and they could probably fit quite a few games with just a gig.
But then again, I mean, you would imagine that the entire Nintendo ROM collection is less than a gig,
So let's spitball here. So kind of the base storage option on, let's say, a phone, it's 8 gigs, right? Or 4 even. That's a lot of NES games that you can fit on there, even just at that.
No, this is a lot. And, I mean, the people are able to get full album art, so everything looks just like it does, like it was originally intended to be on there.
Oh, my God. That's
one of the coolest aspects of this whole.
Yeah, that would, to play Dig Dug 2 on that machine would make me a really happy child again.
So, quick little bit of research on here, looking at, it's probably not the full NES ROM collection. Probably missing some games here and there, but you're looking at like 150 megabytes for a whole bunch of games. So maybe this thing only does have megabytes on a chip in that thing. I mean, it's running some type of a Linux-based emulator.
I'm not too surprised with that.
And again, since it can't connect to the internet, there's really no way that Nintendo can block systems that are already been sold to patch this to keep you from doing it.
Nope. Missed opportunity.
If you have updated your NES Classic, let us know. Let us know kind of what your process was. Did you kind of follow everything along, or have you found another GUI type way to do it? So I'm curious to see how this is actually gonna work. And I mean, I still hope that Nintendo does do more classic series and does a Super Nintendo Classic and all that.
Quit playing with my heart.
Yeah, I know. It's a walk down memory lane. Walk down memory lane nostalgia. I'm all about that stuff. It's time for our app entertainment hardware picks. And again, kind of this week, it's a little bit lighter. Last weekend, I got a chance to go with my wife, my dad, and another friend of ours to go see the film Hidden Figures, which stars Tarjay Henson, Octavia Spencer, and Janelle Monáe. It is the story of a team of African-American women that provide NASA with important mathematical data needed to launch the program's first successful space missions. Think Alan Shepard, John Glenn, first people to go to the moon and orbit space and orbit the Earth and stuff like that. And you're doing this back in the 1960s, which, hey, they still had segregated water fountains, colored bathrooms, colored this, colored that. Some African-American people in states like Virginia, for example, could not even attend certain schools, whether it was college, high school, anything like that. Even if you're wanting to take night classes in college at a local high school.
That blows my mind.
It is. It's very mind-boggling. And it's sad that these stories like this are taking 50 years to come out. Because so many
However, it's very good that not only is this seem to have really good critical acclaim to it, I mean, you definitely enjoyed it. As soon as me and Sarah saw the trailer for it, we both looked at each other and we were like, oh man, that's a movie I want to see.
Tara J. Henson plays Katherine G. Johnson, and I think she is more of the focal point of this film. I mean, she's kind of like the lead character that is focused on, because they kind of show her briefly as a child, and she's very, very brilliant, a complete math whiz, savant, whatever it is you want to categorize her as. But yeah, she did a fantastic job, and Katherine Johnson's actually still alive. She's like 97, 98 years old. She, within the last, year or 2 years, got the Presidential Medal of Freedom or whatever. I mean, it's just amazing to know that, not only women, but African-American women played such an integral role in getting this. And Octavia Spencer's character, Dorothy Vaughan, taught herself the Fortran. It was when NASA first got the IBM computers.
Oh.
So we're talking very rudimentary systems here that used those little punch data cards or whatever that just did all the stuff. She taught herself that programming language and became like the head of that room of basically the IBM computer department. It's just amazing stuff, and I highly recommend it. Kevin Costner plays Al Harrison. He does a fantastic job. Jim Parsons from Big Bang Theory plays Paul Stafford. It's weird. I haven't seen a whole lot of Big Bang Theory. The show was funny from what I've seen, but I'm like, I don't need to watch that much. It's just weird seeing him in a different role that's not a comedy-focused role.
That's true.
It's really good. Again, I highly recommend going and seeing this while in theaters. But if you don't get a chance to see it in theaters, definitely catch it whenever it does come out. So make sure to put it on your list to watch.
Next up, I have a game that is new to me, at least. It's called 7 Days to Die. Essentially, it is a zombie apocalyptic setting, but it's kind of that setting thrown in with, Minecraft. Now, I know Minecraft already has zombies, but this feels slightly more realistic. Think late PS2, early Xbox 360 graphics. Not the best, but definitely better than 8-bit. And I say better in quotations. It definitely is glitchy. It has had a rough launch from what I've read through a lot of older reviews. But actually, this game is really fun. We've been playing it for the past week pretty much, and I can't put it down. I really can't. Essentially, every 7 days, a zombie horde attacks wherever it is you're holed up at, and you kind of got to defend them off, and if you make it through the night, the next week they'll get a little bit harder and then a little bit harder and introduce new enemies, and we're on this gameplay loop that it just cannot get enough of this game, and I thought it was just going to be, I'll play it a little bit and be done with it. But no, it's Minecraft levels of addicting.
So when they say 7 days, is it like real life 7 days where something is different?
I would say a full day is roughly 45 minutes to an hour for a full day. But I can't really grasp why the early reviews were so bad. I think part of it is, yes, there have been some crashes with us playing it. Yes, there have been a lot of frame rate chugging issues when you have a lot of sprites and or other things all happening at the same time. I think that has a lot to do with it. However, all that aside, I bought it for $15 because it was on sale during Microsoft's second week, again for $15, and it's normally $30, so really it's not that bad considering how much time I've already put into it, which I don't have that off the top of my head, but I've been playing roughly 4 hours a night for the past week, so you can do the math there.
Wow.
So approaching 30 hours, I'm sure. and I can't wait to play it later tonight.
So you've probably played it more than I've played Titanfall 2.
That's a real possibility.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if I like go home and after this whole Nintendo thing and I'm like, hey, you want to play something? And we've talked to it, we want to play Star Wars Battlefront. And you'd be like, nope, sorry, 7 ways to die.
It'd be really hard to tear away from this.
Apparently it's that good. Huh?
Yeah. So by itself, if you're just doing this alone, I would say it's not very fun. Or maybe slightly too challenging for some people. However, playing with a group of people, I haven't had this much fun in quite some time.
It'd be nice if it was a Games with Gold game, then I'd get it.
I really hope that it comes to Games with Gold, mostly because I feel it's a game that a lot of people missed out on.
I can understand that. I mean, looking through the reviews, based on Microsoft.com, they give it a 4 out of 5 average out of 6,939
Almost
ratings.
7,000 reviews.
Yeah, so that's pretty good. I mean, 4 out of 5 stars. Some people say it's a rushed PC port, and it's got some in-app purchases of $1.99 to $2.99.
So I actually did just buy one of those just to look at it because it was $2, and I just felt that the developer could use a few extra bucks because I really like the game, and I hope that they, fix a few things here or there. Again, it's a really great co-op experience, and if you have a few buddies, you might have a lot of fun with this game. So
they've got Walking Dead skin packs. So if you like Walking Dead and you want to look like certain characters, there you go.
Yeah, I believe there's that, and there might even be characters from, Left 4 Dead in there, in one of the other packs. I don't remember. Or characters that look very similar to that even. Mm-hmm. So definitely worth checking out at a cheaper price. Or if you just can't wait, it's only $30.
$30. So about half the price of a brand new Xbox or PlayStation game.
Just a side note, there is online multiplayer. I have not dived into it at all. I imagine that it could be kind of brutal to play. I could imagine that players could be very mean to you and just destroy you.
Online players that are strangers be mean to you online?
Right?
No.
But
that's silly talk.
I bet you could find a Facebook group for this and get a bunch of people together and play that way.
Probably. Or now that there's those communities or whatever on Xbox.
Yeah, that would be another really good way to do that.
All sorts of different ways to do that. It's time for this week's beer pick, and it took Brad a little bit of time to figure out one that he could share with everybody, but he did find one, so share with us.
Again, can't remember if we've had this or not, but I'm going to do it again, if we have. But it's the Vanilla Porter by Breckenridge Brewery. Being as it's getting cold out, some ice is on the way, nice porter sounds kind of good. Especially with a little vanilla sprinkled with it. It's just everything you love about a porter, all malty and dark, and with that little kind of soft flavor of the vanilla, it just really kind of stands out a little bit. But I do like a nice porter occasionally, especially with a good steak, huh? But with the vanilla, I would venture to say that it's more of a dessert porter. Not that that's a thing, but, maybe an after-dinner kind of beer.
Okay. That's one of the things that I love about one of the local St. Louis brewers here, Four Hands, is they always do food pairings, and they, hey, if this should go with steak, this should go with chicken, this should go with
tacos,
or a specific dessert. Like I think the one that I got last night, like Devil's Invention or whatever, it's a coffee stout. Mm-hmm. They say it goes great with chocolate cake. I don't have any chocolate cake, but it makes me want to get some while I'm here.
Yeah, so I did not have very many beers between now and my 1000th beer, which we talked about last episode. But I think that'll start to kind of take off here eventually.
Yeah.
So
you might want to stop and grab something on the way home. I'm sure you're not going to run out.
Nah.
I'm sure you're pretty stocked and loaded.
Oh, yeah. I can always walk down to the gas station, too.
That's true, too. You don't slip and fall on a 3/4 of an inch of ice.
This is true.
All right, so that does it for this week's episode of Tech Informist. I hope everybody has been enjoying some of the changes that we've made to the format. I would really appreciate if more people could let us know what you think. some things that you would like to see us do, things you would not like to see us do, and other things like that. We're always available. You can email us, contact at thetechinformist.com. Hit us up on Twitter at Tech Informist, or personally on Twitter at Kevin Harvell, and also
at Holy Shadows.
Yes, so please do that. And follow Brad on Instagram. He does a lot of Instagramming, and I'm hit and miss on Instagram. I've been kind of dabbling a little bit more. That's the problem with having your hand in so many different cookie jars.
Also, a side note, I've been a lot more active on Destructoid finally, and I might have another blog posted next Monday, so or by the time you hear this, now.
But on this week's show notes, he's going to link to the article that he just wrote for this week.
Which did very well, actually, and I was pretty proud of it, so maybe go check that out.
Yeah. Brad likes to write, and he likes people to read it, and again, comment, interact.
Mostly about games, but
yeah,
with a name like Destructoid, go figure.
True. Very, very true. Again, that does it for this week's episode of the Tech Informist podcast. Thank you all so much for listening. This is Kevin.
And this is Brad.
And until we talk again next time, consider yourself informed. We are out.
Deuces.